Alright, hold on. Just trying to make myself get through here. Alright, sometimes I'm not sure why I get in these kind of woods. Alright, we are in. This is just my study tablet right here. I mean, all of these different things that I study and think about, making sense of all of everything. We are getting into Genesis chapter 1, verses 20 through 25. The main study is about the water, sky, and land animals. We get into DNA, we get into the genetic codes, we get into transitional forms. How these animals have a soul. Animals have a soul or a spirit. I get into the fossil records, the unnatural hybridization of animals on this planet that we're doing these days. This is covering the 5th day, a little bit after the 5th day. Genesis chapter 1, verse 20. And God said, let the earth bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. We have to really ask ourselves some real, true, honest questions. I question everything. I question the creation. I question the evolution. I question the creator himself. You know what I mean? That's what has led me to where I am in my life right now. In verse 20, we see that God said, he spoke something for the waters to bring forth abundantly. And you can go look in any water anywheres on this planet and it is filled with life. There's a whole nother world in that water. It's not only a question of how did the animals evolve, how did the water in the seas and the rivers and the oceans, how did that evolve? Where did all of these water molecules come from? What is telling that water to be water? And here, again, we have another whole world up there. We have a whole nother world of fowl, of birds that are in the air. But how did the molecules in this air evolve, you know, for the birds? The word creature right there is talking about a soul. To think that an animal had a soul, I don't think I ever believed or thought anything close to that. All right, as I walk around in these woods here, all of these animals have their own individual personalities. These animals are not cookie cutter animals. You can have 20 dogs, 20 brown chihuahuas, and you put them all in a room and just watch them fight. No, we're not fighting chihuahuas, okay? You know, even with fish and with the birds of the air, you know, it's all true. The different intellects. Very strange stuff. You spend enough time around that little animal, you will be able to distinguish one from the other, not by the way it looks, but by the way it acts. Very similar behavior patterns. You can almost come back and spot different ones because of different personality traits that they have. 21. And God created great whales, and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. God saw that it was good. We can see he created what he said he was going to do in verse 20. Okay, he's not just sitting there running off at the mouth about what he's gonna do and never get it done. Just talk and talk and talk and never get anything done. I ain't about just sitting around talking and saying this and saying that. You know, you gotta get it, but if you want something in this life, you have to get it. I'm about that action, boss. And that's what we see here. We see that God is definitely about that action, and he's getting it done right here in verse 21. What he said he was going to do in verse 20. The word whales just means large water animals, large sea creature. Transitional forms, you know, and I find these articles just so funny. I mean, this is an article from Berkeley, and I'm gonna read it. This is about transitional forms of whales. And I'm not making this up, dude. I'm talking about the transition of a gray whale, that it hasn't always been a gray whale, that it transitioned from something else, okay? That's what they're talking about in here. Okay, I'm not sure this word Pakicetus is described as an early ancestor to modern whales. Okay, check this out. Although Pakicetids were land animals, it is clear that they are related to whales and dolphins based on a number of specializations of the ear. relating to hearing. The skull shown here displays nostrils at the front of the skull, and a skull of the gray whale that roams the seas today has his nostrils placed at the top of his skull. Okay, so that's clear. That's clear, bro. The gray whale came from Pakicetus, you know? Just a few things that, you know, just a few questions. And hey, man, we're just talking, you know what I mean? We're just talking. A few things that get me on this is that they're saying that the Pakicetus, the land mammal, is actually what turned into the gray whale. Okay, so I mean, just with my knowledge, and I'm not an evolutionary biologist or nothing like that, you know what I mean? But I thought we came out of the water, you know what I mean? I thought we started as the little goops and then the fish, and then we crawled out. And so apparently Pakicetus wasn't fully formed just yet, so he had to go back into the water to turn into a to turn into a gray whale. Okay, he wasn't ready to stay on land just yet. Okay, he had to go back in the water. All right, and his ear hole is what makes it clear that he's now a gray whale. You know what I mean? Don't question stuff like that, bro. That's just hardcore facts. I just thought that was hilarious. All of them after their own kind. Catfish will never turn into a bass. A bass will never turn into an alligator gar. They never will turn into anything else other than what they are now, because their genetic code and their DNA that is in them, embedded in them by the one who created them, will never change. I can sit out here in one day and see cardinals, and I can see bluebirds, and I can see robins, and I can see eagles, and I can see chicken hawks, all kinds of different birds out here. A chicken hawk will never turn into an owl, and an owl will never turn into any other thing except an owl. With the technology that we have these days, I have no idea how mind-boggling theory that all of these different animals, species around the planet, have one time jumped into other species. I mean, the genetic code and the DNAs will not allow that to happen. Dude, use some common sense and just look at the world around you. Believe all of this junk that they got going on, everybody's teaching, whether the junk comes from religion or the junk comes from science, I don't really care. It's junk, and it don't mean nothing. It doesn't amount to nothing. Come on, what are you doing? You know, what are you looking at? It is very obvious when you come walk around outside and go into and look at the animals, to the point where it is just completely impossible to say that there is not a creator who has created everything on this planet. Okay, they're all after their kind, after its own kind. Okay, you have a bunch of different whales in the ocean, but a blue whale, its DNA is genetically impossible to get a humpback whale from a blue whale. So there's no way, no matter how much time you give a blue whale, it'll never turn into anything else. Never. The genetic code is locked into place. To look at and understand that the genetic code of all of these animals, it's a set of rules embedded in the animal that tells it how to grow, what to grow, and also how to act. 22, and God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply and fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth. The first blessing in the Bible, when he created souls and spirits of these animals, he blessed them. You know, just stop and pay attention to what is around you. You know what I mean? Look at all of the animals. Watch National Geographic or Discovery Channel every once in a while. Go to a zoo or something and look at the animals. Oh man, I am out of shape.
Come on, I'm burning. My lungs are burning.
Man, I used to run through these woods like it was no problem, man. He said to them, be fruitful and multiply. Not hard to figure out when you look around that these animals are multiplying at a very rapid rate. Because that's the whole reason that they were created. They are programmed to breed and populate. That's just what they do. To fill the earth, to fill the land, to fill the waters, to fill the skies. And that's exactly what they do. They only are doing what they are genetically programmed to do. And their genetic code only can do what it's allowed to do.
23, in the evening, in the morning, 50.
We have a possibility of a 24-hour day here. If you want to take it as a 24-hour day, hey, you do have the evidence to back yourself up here. That is a 24-hour day. Me personally, I don't believe it's a 24-hour day. I don't believe we can hold God to any type of time frame like 24 of our hours to say that he took that amount of time to create all of these water and bird animals. Very intelligent thought processes put into creating all of these water animals and creating all of these bird species that fly around in the open firmament of the heavens. I'm not gonna sit here and lock God in a 24-hour box. You do with that as you please. I can't stop you, and I'm not going to try. Question everything. I don't need to explain how to get to the truth. The more you seek and the more you knock and the more you dig and the more you question.
Before, God said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle, and creeping thing, and beast of the earth after his kind. It was so.
Okay, God is an English word, and it is a terminology for a supreme being. God is a very broad term. It's not his name. It is not a name. It's a term. He has a name. Again, C24, we see he said again. He's talking, he's speaking. This isn't action yet. He's just saying what he's about to do. Bring forth living creature. Again, the word creature there is nephesh, soul, spirit. Okay, we're getting into land animals, cattle. You can just lump that word into like a giant group, just say mammals. Okay, creeping things, you can just bunch all of that up into arachnids and amphibians and reptiles and just all of the creeping animals we have on the world. Birds are in a whole different category on their own. They have nothing to do with mammals or fish. They're just a species all by themselves. And we see that they're all after their kind.
On the ground out here, we have squirrels and rabbits and armadillos. A squirrel will never turn into a rabbit, and a rabbit will never turn into an armadillo. It never has, and it never will. Just a down-to-earth study on the genetics. None of these different animals are ever going to turn into another animal. All right. And that's the Sasquatch, man. And I tell you what, I'm serious, man. That is one of the most freakiest animals for me to think about when I'm out here in the woods, you know. And I don't really care about his genetics or his DNA. And dude, hey, you laughing, but I tell you what, you come out here in these woods, man, and the sun going down like it is, and I got to get back to my truck, and because I've walked all the way in here to make a video, you know, the mind just starts thinking a little bit. I've heard some very strange things out here, and I've spent a lot of times in the woods, and I tell you what, there is some unexplained things and noises that definitely go on out here. And then you just become one of those missing people, you know. Oh man, now I'm freaking myself out. Creation itself speaks to a creator. There's a whole world of animals out here in these woods, and these are the land animals, all after their own kind. Not one animal out here will ever turn into another animal, ever. None of them. They have never turned into another animal. They never will turn into another animal.
A lion will never produce a cheetah. A lion will never produce a jaguar. A cheetah will never produce a jaguar. And same with horses and zebras. You can breed horses and you will never get a zebra out of a stallion. It just won't happen. All of it happened by chance. That all of these species, it's just a plumb ridiculous theory. I just don't know how people even come close to believing this stuff. And you sit there and teach it to children.
25. And God made the beast of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good.
We see that God made. Okay, here's the action. He said it in verse 24. He is accomplishing it in verse 25. God saw that it was good, because he creates things that are good and beautiful. That's why you take pictures of his creation. Okay, and getting into the animal hybrids, the unnatural animal hybridization programs that they have around this world, to me, it's sad and it's sickening. They artificially inseminate these animals, and a lot of these animals are born with serious genetic mutations and cancers and serious DNA damage. The animal suffers because it's unnatural, and their bones don't form right. They can't walk right. If you went put them in the wild, they couldn't even survive. And I read an article about it that it's just plainly for human entertainment. You know what I mean? And that's just sick and twisted, man. We need to leave natural creation alone. These programs are completely unnatural. To involve the animals in it is just plain wrong. Okay, why can't hybrids reproduce? In short, hybrid animals are infertile because they don't have viable sex cells, meaning they can't produce sperm or egg. This is the case because the chromosomes from their different species parents don't match up. Okay, so you'll never get transitional forms. You'll never have that happen. You would have to have proof that these transitional forms not only happened, but that they was also viable to continue to reproduce and continue to breed. You have to have transitional forms for every single living species on this planet, and not just one transitional form. You need thousands of transitional forms, and there's just no way. Okay, so all of these species of animals were created to be that specific species of animal. They're never going to be anything else, and it's not allowed to make transitional forms until we start messing around like in the days of Noah with the DNA and the genetic codes of plants and animals and humans.
Okay, and that's one of the big sins of the end times. See, we have the ability now to change the DNA of all of these things. We have the ability to change DNA of the land animals and of the water animals. That's the big thing that we're heading to here in these days of Noah that we're in today.
You know, now we can start to produce all kinds of crazy stuff because of our knowledge that we have here, because we're slowly getting back in the days of Noah before the flood. But that's another topic for another study.
An armadillo today was the same as an armadillo millions of years ago. Why? Because his DNA tells him to be an armadillo. I mean, it's not hard to figure this stuff out, man. If people would just wipe off all of this junk that is clouding your vision, I mean, common sense has just disappeared. This is created. All of it is created. All of these different animals. And it was all good. All of it. Good for its specific purpose. Some of it good to eat. Some of it good to clean. Some of it good to eat each other. To keep the balance going. It's just a big old beautiful place when you really look at it. And that's really the whole point of the message here, is to really hit home and drive home this idea that we have a creator. And that creator has a name. He told us his name. His name is Yah. He is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He is the great Hayah, the great I Am. He is the one and only creator. We need to know who we're talking about. We need to know who we're thinking about on a daily basis. And here we are, back up on the mountaintop, just thinking about all of it. The whole reason all of this was created was because of what he's about to create in the sixth day. Human being, okay? He is about to create us. As I do these studies and work my way through God's word, it draws me closer to his spirit, and that's really the whole reason I'm doing this. And to me, it's very humbling when I think about him. And I truly believe if more people in this world would imitate Christ, not Christians, don't imitate Christians. Man, we have a tendency to screw things up major. We can't even keep our own lives in order half the time. And some of us like to act like we're better than the next man, but we're not. None of us are. And then I think about all of the different ways that human beings just hurt each other and lie to each other and rob each other and kill each other and rape each other. You know, all of the different ways that human beings completely disrespect the whole reason that God in heaven placed us here on this earth. And this world is filled with sadness and chaos, confusion, wickedness, darkness, sorrow. People are broken and hurting. if you want to make a difference in this world, then do it with love. Especially if you say that you follow Yah, the God of heaven and earth, the creator of this world. We must show the forgiveness and the mercy and the love that he has shown us. I ask all of you to just examine yourself daily, because we are the ones who should be really making the difference on this planet. We are the ones who are supposed to be walking around and being this light to the world. We are to let our light shine. Don't go running around shining your light in everybody's face. Just live a life that Christ has lived and just show people the love and mercy that he showed. Sometimes we have to be a little firmer than other times, but still, there's a beautiful balance to it. For those who don't follow, and you're just not into all of that, but there is a creator to all of these things that are around you. And that creator, his name is Yah. And he created your soul, he created my soul, he created all souls. But he is in control. And he's the one that we need to focus on during this life. And he's the one that brings a true understanding of what it means to be human. He did it perfectly. That's how he knows how to get it done. And he can help us to get it done. Let's get these political parties off of our back. Let's get these different religious denominations off of our back. He who the Son sets free is free indeed. Let's become free people. One day we'll be with him again.